and then suddenly it was up there. It was and two of us saw it, and two of us didn't. And so it came. It's quite small, but it came out like this, and then it went round in an arc, and then it went wobbled and gone. And
What a shame. What did
there
it
was
look
blue
like?
sky behind it.
In this interview, I'm speaking with Sue, who's had more than 50 out of body experiences. Yes, 50. So she describes them not as random events, but as something she learned to access deliberately through focus and daily practice. Over time, that same state led her into dowsing, remote viewing, and eventually to a moment where she believes she's summoned a UFO. She goes through her method meticulously. I mean, it's the most detailed I've ever had. So, like always, please like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you think. Everything you do helps the channel and helps me produce more videos like this. Let's dive in.
Okay. So, Sue, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. Now, you've had over 50 out of body experiences. So,
That's
what's
true.
interesting for me about you is that you're not at the start of your journey, but you're fairly, I guess, mature in this. And you've had lots of other experiences that we'll get onto as well. So, can you start by just taking us through your origin story in relation to all of this? So, out of body
Yeah.
experiences. Where did it all
Okay.
start for you?
Okay. So, um, my earliest memory of just feeling that I knew I was doing something a bit different was that when I went to bed, so this is primary age, probably 5, 6, 7, 8, I'd get into bed and I would have music running through my fingers, which I would be tapping out. And I would have the hundreds of landscapes flashing before my eyes every time I got into bed. And obviously, I didn't mention it to anybody. You don't. And sometimes I used to see, sorry, not every single night, but then sometimes I used to see bright lights on the wall in my bedroom. So then, so the next thing, my grandpa gave me a book containing lots of different things you could make. And it had things like snowshoes you could make. I made some out of old man's beard. And that's a sort of viney weed we have in the UK. But we didn't have any snow where I grew up. Also, I made a ladder, which was swiftly hidden for safety reasons. I'm only 10, remember? And then I made a bow and arrow, which luckily I didn't cause too much damage with. And then another thing was, do you want to find water? And there was a description of how to make dowsing rods. So I made some dowsing rods. Asked somebody, what do you do with these? They just laughed. In secondary school, I always would know the answer, even though I hadn't done any extra work, but the answer came to me straight away. I put my hand up. Hence, the teachers were surprised when I didn't get, top marks in my exams. But I've always had a sense of what's behind, without people needing to speak. There's always been an awareness there. So then when I was in art college, with somebody who later became my partner, we would try and send each other an image. So test our telepathic skills. But it was really me pushing, and he wasn't that bothered. So then I was trying one night. This is a couple of years on, because this is just a constant thing for me, or there's this sort of fringe area, if you like. I would set up a screen. I would visualize a screen in front of my forehead, and I would be lying down, and my head would be on a pillow. But one time I was visualizing, I would imagine that there was a triangle or writing or numbers or a picture or something. I was visualizing something, and I heard air roaring past my ears really suddenly, and I went, "Oh!" I resisted, but, at the time, it was just a really strange experience, and I didn't actually, really know what was going on. But then and it was very loud, so you could argue scientifically it was an audio, hallucination if you wanted. But it was my experience. So, um, then a bit later, I was given a book by Robert Monroe. I don't know if it was Journeys Out of the Body or Far Journeys or both even, but they were both brilliant books. You have to read them. And, I suppose this is first of all, reading the accounts and every page you think, "Oh, no, I've got to do this. I've got to do this." It's just it grows on you quite fast. So, would you like me to go into the directions, or shall I suggest how to do it later on? What do you think?
Into the directions, do you mean the
It's for people to learn, what they need to do.
I know, I'll ask you about that in a bit. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll ask you about that. So
So,
yeah, just
okay.
just more about, like, I guess, this intuitive aspect. So it sounds like what you're saying to me is that you've always just had this awareness, this intuition since you were young. And it
Definitely. And
yeah.
when I later moved to another town, and then I attended a a succession of courses all about the aura. So, psychometry, and I actually use it in one of my current roles as well. But there's so much you can do just studying the aura. And then we got to the end of the aura courses, and they said, "Right, the next course is mediumistic." And I said, "Oh no, I'm going." I don't want to do that. At the time, that was too much. So then I had a period living in France for a year, and being very creative. So
Right.
I started practicing with Robert Monroe's um, advised, we'll call it meditation, for want of a better mode of operating. It's not exactly
A
meditation
gateway
compared to,
experience tapes
yeah,
or CDs or
yeah.
yeah.
So my experiences. So basically, I have had really, probably more experiences than I can count. However, the the greatest proportion of them were training exercises, not full blown. So first of all, I would start off, and it would be about whether I passed through the valve or not. So it was
What do you
a
mean by
sort
the
of
valve?
yeah, well, um, no audio, no visual, but a feeling, physical, sort of physical sensation. Obviously, not my body, but that was the impression, and it was that if I got past the valve, I was through. And if I hadn't got past the valve, one of the muscles in my body, I presume, can't have been relaxed enough. That's all I can, because it's always there ready. That's what I feel. So it was a fail for that night. I couldn't I don't know. I didn't push it, but I tried every night, and sometimes after a while, it takes a while. It took me a while anyway. I'm very sensitive
How long did it take you?
to cross, because a lot of it was just nice meditation, as I said, way of operating. And if you go to bed early, you find you end up needing less sleep anyway when you're doing this every night. So if you get an indication that you're going the right way, that's a bonus. So I started off having the occasional feeling of going through the valve, and it was like a release. It's like it's sort of tight, and then that's why I say valve.
So this is your terminology. You're
Yeah, my
describing it as a valve.
terminology. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not such um a theorist, I'm just expressing what's happened to me. So then After that, sometimes I would go further. So sometimes it would be sort of dream-like, although different, because I'm not going to say lucid dreaming, although I could be wrong, but I did meet ancestors, for example, who probably gave me little words of advice, but it was so long ago. And that was really nice. But then sometimes I would find myself practicing, trying to go through a wall or a ceiling or a door. And I would have on one occasion, I'd be going through lots of times. Just keep practicing, keep practicing, keep practicing. I think it's because I'm so sensitive. I really had to push at it. And if the moment you think, back to base, then you go back to base. You have to stay in the moment. I had so many of these, and I had them. I wouldn't say they ever. It was a different level of awareness to the dream, the sort of semi-dream state that I sometimes found myself in, where I met ancestors. But it was like being present, almost being present, with the walls and the ceilings and everything. And that would um it was I just keep doing it. I mean,
Were you talking to anyone? Were you sharing
no,
this with
no,
anybody?
I never actually communicated with any. Oh yes, I did. I went in the dream, semi-dream state. Yes, yes. Lot.
But in normal waking reality, were you?
Not in these, because at the time, uh, I would afterwards I think, well, that was a strange thing. Was that a dream? Or it obviously wasn't like a normal dream, and it wasn't like the other experiences, but it was another aspect that I just um recorded mentally. So then, after a lot of this experimenting, I would say mostly they were local, the ones that I had. And then, so I'll talk about them first. Um, for example, the first one I ever had, where it was a full blown, as real as it could be without being, I had senses, but they were slightly reduced. I know I can hear things out of my body. I doubt very much I don't think I can taste. I haven't ever experienced that. And if I spoke, it would be mentally.
Oh, telepathic, yeah.
I think like everybody probably, but I did have vision and I had hearing, and I thought I had touch until the first one I had. I just realized I was going up, but I was going up in the wrong place, because this is all new. This is the first time, and over on my left there was a massive form, like an organic form of of it was like a tree, but there were characters sort of formed around the tree, and they were looking at me, but they were looking in my direction, but they weren't communicating, they were observing, and I don't know what sort of frequency they were on, but it changed because I was then, I suppose you could say I was partly, it was like I was partly in an out of body experience in my room and partly in another, I have to say dimension because I don't know how else to explain it. I haven't got the vocabulary. But, then I thought, oh, okay. So I moved my arm and I thought I would touch the wall because my bed was next to the wall, but my hand just went through the wall and I could feel the molecules separate when my hand moved through the wall. And I went, oh, right. I just accepted it. And then I thought, oh, the roof. So I went up. Um, my head went through the ceiling and I just had a look. Oh, yeah, the roof. Okay. And I went back down again. Same thing with the molecules, and you just let go. You just I didn't have resistance. I just went with it. It's so easy to resist, but you have. I think maybe with practice, you are better at um not resisting. Get my negatives right. So, then I thought, "Oh, no," 'cause my son had, chicken pox at the time. I thought, "Oh, no, better go and see, how he is." So, I was sort of, I suppose, just below the ceiling, and I went along, had a look at him. He seemed to be fine. He was asleep, and, it might seem like not an amazing experience for some people, but for me, it was incredible. The next morning when I woke up, instead of walking about the house, I felt like I was flying. I felt in the physical,
In the
it was
physical, yeah.
so elating. I was so elated, I mean, and it felt similar to after I had taken my first Tai Chi session, which I used to do when I was a student. I felt so released, and that was amazing as well. I thought, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is good."
Yeah.
So I was on a high that day.
Yeah.
Um, so another one, for example, going, so up to below ceiling level. No, I never saw the forms again, so I never saw that other level.
Like entities.
Yeah, I never saw that again, but, I just went out through the glass, over the road. I looked up and down the road, and then came back in again, just having a look around. Another time I went through the wall, and I went over my neighbour's, fruit bowl, like an inch over their fruit bowl, which is pretty amazing. I don't know. I can't say what time I was in either, because, I'll talk about this later, but, each focus could be to another time or the same time, because in one sense, all time is in the same moment when you are, doing what I'm going to talk about in a minute. So, keep people waiting. So, then another one, so if I move on to, so I had lots of those just in my locality. And I forgot to mention when I was a child, most of my dreams were flying dreams,
Okay. Okay.
which was lovely. It really helped me cope, I think, because at night
Yeah.
I could just take off and I just had to think, fly. Okay, I'll go. It was easy. It was easier. I don't know. It was like being a bird, I suppose, but I would just go off. I didn't even have to get some lift.
Mm,
So, then one time I would arrive. So sometimes I would just arrive. I'd know I was going through the valve, but then it would be where I was. That's what I mean about which point you arrive at. And I haven't, um, by my own self-control, chosen places to visit. I have been
okay.
sent.
Okay.
So one time I Uh, oh, here I am. I'm in the back of a car. Oh, it looks like the 1950s, and I'm I'm in one of the people.
Oh,
And at the time, I'm just in one of the people. But you can imagine that later on, I realised, and I did explore it a lot. I feel I was in one of my previous life memories,
okay. Okay.
but it was lovely driving through this quaint village, and the car. I suppose it was something like a Morris or something, but because it was curved, and, there was no conversation, um, and it was just like a routine journey through this village, going from A to B, and it was a happy enough family, that all that was nice, and it's just now I believe it was one of my past experiences. Uh, uh, I'm really happy, but at the time I was thinking it was quite bizarre, quite off-putting. you know,
Yeah.
ending up suddenly in this other situation, in the person. And then
Yeah.
this happened again, for example, I was in the sitting room of this grand house, and, it was, longer ago than I feel 50s for the other one. It was like, I don't know, another century, and, there was there were 2 children, a smaller one and a bigger one, but I was there as well as another person. I feel either a big child or a young helper,
Okay.
and one of them was crying, and so, yes, I did actually have I forgot about those. So I did have some interaction, and then another one, just to leap now to show people what is possible, and I don't know that I've finished analyzing this, but one time, after going through the valve, I was traveling through space. I felt like I was traveling through space. It's like going along, looking side to side at all these stars going by. I was thinking, "Oh, I'm in space. Space, that's good. I'm in space." And then gradually, "Oh, there's more." And it was getting a bit,
Yeah.
repetitive.
Yeah.
Um, and
Did you
now,
end up anywhere at that
sorry,
point?
did I end
Did you
up
travel
anywhere?
did you travel to anywhere, any specific place, or you were just
No, it
traveling through
didn't. There
space?
wasn't a conclusion to that one. And then, so when I started to think, "Oh, I'm still in space," then straight back in my body. When I started to have slightly negative thoughts,
Mm,
which, I mean, it's interesting that it was less specific in a way because I wasn't going to a point. Um, but I now use all these experiences. I use my energy in a different way, but it greatly influenced by this flexibility. I mean, I'm an artist anyway, and I see myself as an explorer, because I just, how can I say? When I was young and we would go shopping, I would every time I heard a different language spoken in the street, my heart would beat so fast. And, for example, we had a lot of Russian sailors walk through our town, because at that time, there were the factory ships were being processing their fish, um, nearby, and I heard so many languages that otherwise I wouldn't have heard. And I used to listen to my radio, longwave radio, under the bedclothes, listening to as many stations as I could to hear the different languages. And I speak fluent French, Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese is intermediate, and about 5 other conversationally. So,
amazing. Amazing. And when you were exploring and, using the sort of gateway method, so Robert Monroe's,
yeah. Mm.
audios, were you specifically, focused on any particular, focus levels? There's like focus 12, 15.
I
Were
don't
you
know.
aware of?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
So, if that maybe, it's in one of the books and I didn't
Okay.
read all of the
Okay.
book or something.
Okay.
No, I just, the aim was you had to do it every night. You had to be uninterrupted, and it would be basically that if you didn't achieve anything, you'd be where you would be to go to sleep anyway. So there's absolutely no chance of an interruption. And you had to relax every muscle in your body. So you would start at the top, and work your way down.
Okay.
And obviously breathing from your diaphragm, you know, your breathing slows down so that you barely notice it. And then it suddenly happens that the
And
bit
so
with the
you were
valve. I don't know if anyone else would describe it as a valve, but
as
that's
a
what it
valve.
was like for me.
Okay. And for you as well, like it was just a case of, I think the line is, mind awake, body asleep. Were you, or at least when I've done it,
Uh-huh.
that's the kind of mantra that you kind of
Okay.
repeat.
Uh-huh.
So could you feel like in your experience, was it a case of like you went because you mentioned that you'd go to bed earlier. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing you were not tired mentally. Because it's for me, it's like a
So
flip of a switch. Like you go
yeah.
to sleep.
No, no, no.
For you, it's like you're focused on your body, on your muscles, and it means that your body may be slowly shutting down, and you are
The kind of, as well as being very creative and I'm explorer type, I'm also very sensitive and very articulate. So the attention to detail means that I've got to look for those muscles.
yeah,
so so
yeah.
it took a long time just with the continued focus. I did have um the focus practice from doing the meditation in the auric classes.
Okay,
That did help a lot, but
okay.
for me, I needed it. For other people, maybe you can just flip, but for me, it depends. We're all different.
So just to get this right, so in your case, you were literally focusing on every single muscle. So
Every
you were
single muscle from the
really
top
taking
to
it
the. Oh, sorry, I didn't say. You focus on the muscle, you look for tension, and when you find it, you send it down into the earth, all the way down.
interesting.
Yeah. Oh, drop my tablet. All the way down. All the way down. And so it's a long process.
Well, interesting because I think the tapes are different now, or at least
I
the
didn't have
audios are
tapes.
slightly different. Okay. Oh, you didn't. You were following.
The book.
Oh, the
Yeah.
book. Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, wow.
I didn't
This
know
is a
there were
whole other
tapes
level of. Okay.
of persistence because
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was determined enough to do it every night. And then it would be now and again I would have something. So even, when you get to have experiences, you're not then clicked to on, I am an effective out of body
Yeah,
journeyer. It's
yeah.
that you never know. Well, I didn't know when I was going to have one, but I kept at it to have more. So it's quite a commitment for me to go back into full exploration at that level. But I do use it, as I say, sometimes on a daily basis in another way, which we're going to
In a
talk.
different way that we'll talk about. Yeah. And so, okay. So when you were doing that, wow, so interesting. So essentially, do you remember how long it would roughly take for you to enter that zone?
I wish I could, but the whole point is to
Yeah,
let yourself
let
go.
yourself go.
So,
Because there's another method that I think is kind of basically similar, which is
yeah,
there's a guy called Darius J. Wright, and
I
there are
discovered
people that
him
kind of
after watching your different podcasts.
okay. And I think that method, which is the first, well, one of his methods, is a
Mhm.
similar kind of thing. It's like the body shuts down, and it's supposed to take about 90 minutes. For some people, some people I've interviewed, it takes a bit longer. So I guess it's a similar kind of thing. It's like your body just all of the tensions dissipating and
Yes.
it's shutting down.
However, I've never had woken up with paralysis,
Okay.
which is what he
Okay.
talks about. That if you wake up feeling paralyzed, you can sort of jump out that way.
Mm. Yeah.
But my daughter does
Okay.
regularly, but she hasn't had an experience, and she only recently found out that I have because it's my fam. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
No,
So okay.
my children are great.
Okay.
Let's
Fantastic.
just go with it. But it was me. It was
Mm.
other reserves.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Well,
And okay, so you have all these experiences. What can you describe any of the most wild experiences that you like? What's the most different and rare experience that you say you think you've had out of body?
I I the most perplexing one was traveling through space in
Okay.
an aimless fashion. Of course, it is something that everyone can do every night if they want to. But I don't know really. I think maybe I haven't had it yet
Mhm.
because, um, I mean, as I say, I have used energy journeying, if you like. I do use it now, but on another level.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can't say conclusively that I've had it.
Okay. Okay. And so then maybe let's start talking about your experiences with remote viewing. Was that the next thing that came along? And was it
Not really,
again
no.
Robert Monroe? Oh
Not
no.
not not really, no, no, no.
Okay.
Um, so it's you're doing well trying to link it up for me. Okay, so I'll just quickly slot in that I have worked for years painting outside as a landscape artist. I make my own paint for a superior texture and pigment quality. And so I feel that the painting, I also do paint in a more urban situation, and I'm not scared to go to extreme measures. I made an easel that works on my bicycle, for example. But I I feel that all that time I spent in peace and quiet has helped. Something to do with the outer limits and just you. It's my way, perhaps, of reconnecting on a very subtle level because I'm so sensitive. But anyway, yes. So what happened was, if you remember, I was given a book with
Things you
different
could
things to
make.
make, and one of them was dowsing rods. Well, I
Yes.
forgot to say that when I finished the book, I finished making the things in the book. Then I had a letter, and it was from my grandpa, and it said, "I'm just going to move into a new house or a bungalow where I will see the salmon jump out of the water." That was the last line, and then he died. And I feel that he gave it to me. He gave me this route. Anyway, I was in this after all the auric work that I said I was involved in and the other work. Then I was busy, busy, busy painting, painting, painting. And then one day I went into the library. I think this is probably 2017. And I saw this group of people gathered around a table. And I said, because I'm not scared to speak to anybody, I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me what you're doing?" Because they had maps out and they had strange things on the table, but I couldn't quite tell. And it looked, um, very interesting. So they said, "Oh, well, we're looking for somewhere to douse." I said, "Douse? Oh, yes, douse. Oh, could I possibly sit down?" And they said, "Should we let her?" They were joking. So that's the day I joined that group. And basically,
And what is
they
dowsing?
were, it's a dowsing group. They don't just douse for water. I'll have to explain what dowsing is as well now. But they also, you can look for all sorts of things. But we had an engineer who taught us how to water dowse as well, which really pushed me along because it felt nice and concrete to start with. Um, so when you're dowsing, you, with the help of a prop, which you don't actually need when you're developed, a pair of rods when you start, or a pendulum, or, both pendulums. You can look for, if it's water, water sources, water flows of water underground. You can determine um, the direction of the source, the direction of flow, the depth, the productivity. We have indications of potability, though indications of you'll need filters as well, for example. And I've just been doing this intensely in the Midlands and like Cotswolds this year.
Okay. Okay.
Intensely, really intensely for different people. So, but you also can investigate archaeology, earth energies, which is another big area again. The aura, which is a good gateway in to use the aura because there's also a byproduct that people ground themselves. They find out how to ground themselves as well as it's a route to look at health. You can't prescribe like a medical doctor, but it's to help people help themselves and give indications. Oh, yeah, you need to go to a doctor if they weren't sure, that kind of thing. There's so many things like you can dowse for um, allergies. If you are allergic to a certain E number, well, we can find that by dowsing, you see.
Okay. So is it an
So,
energy? Like how would you describe dowsing to someone who,
so if I tell you, so there's the way we pick it up, but then there's also what there is. So naturally around the Earth there are because the Earth has a solid iron core, and naturally there are bands of electromagnetic energy which just collect because of the shape, the nature of the planet, and birds use these to migrate because they have magnetite particles in their brains. Well, we actually have we have magnetite particles in our in the lower part of our brain. They become denser as they go down to the top of the neck, and this is indeed, in fact, how we when we send out an inquiry. Our cerebellum gives us a minute reaction back with, to start off, a tool, but when you're more developed, you can douse deviceless. I could even tell you how I found that out. How my main deviceless method. So one summer, I told myself, well, I'm going to go west. I'm going to do lots of painting, but I think I'll do some dowsing as well. I ended up doing all dowsing. And one of the tasks I set myself was to plot the village pumps in this traditional villagey countrysidey area that I was in. And one time I had an indication there was going to be a pump, but it was past the fence on the edge of an overgrown churchyard. So I was peering through, and then, oh, I saw what it was. It was a well. It was like the well was winking at me, and I had a big impression saying, "What do you think you're doing looking for village pumps? You should be looking for wells, because village
okay.
pumps caused a lot of illness in their time. It's all people had, but you must look for wells. That's your future." And I saw I had this visual impression of lots of silvery connecting flows of different things, some of them really powerful, some not so, underneath, all connecting. And obviously it was water flowing, but not as I'd seen it before, because it was sort of shimmery. And so I set off, and I was driving, and then suddenly I had a feeling in my head straight after this experience. Oh, what's that? And then drove on a bit, another feeling in my head. So I got out and went back and doused it, and it was a flow crossing the road. So,
Right.
and it's like here, really intense. And if it's, I can now ask if I want a negative or positive reaction, which is how dowsing works. It's a binary form of showing a result. So here's positive, and then negative is I feel it go ooh to the back.
Can you maybe give us an example of how it works? Like, how does it, yeah,
Um,
how did the technique develop over
if
time?
if you've got time, because I've got other things, but um, so for example, would you like plain old water? Because that's
Yeah.
easier to
Yeah.
get hold of if you've never heard of this before. Because it's true that when I'm in events, or it comes up, in public somewhere, if you're under 35, at least, you've never heard of it.
Yeah.
So I understand the need. So, for example, let me see. If somebody needs a borehole, then I will walk onto the site, and I will ask my rod to show me the way I need to walk to find the optimum abundant source of potable water for this, dear family or whatever. And then my rod will lead me to the point. But then that's the first introduction. But then I have to find the center of the flow. First of all, you just find where it is. Then you have to find the center and you can find the edges. And then you ask, where did it come? This is all part of connecting with it. So then you ask, show me the source. So it shows you where it came from. And you can also break that down. You can say the source 2 feet away, or the source 10 miles away, or the source 50 miles away, blah, blah, blah. And equally, you can say, show me the direction, or show me the direction as the bird flies for the point where it
Mm.
flows into the sea.
So these are
And
all questions that you ask,
you
and
have,
then
it's
your
very
rod.
complicated. It took me 5 years before I could be considered to be a tutor because it's so in depth. There are ethics, there are ways of working. I think you'd call them protocols these days, ways of working. And there are things that you do which you later find the benefit they give you, whereas at the time the tutor didn't tell you, or the experienced dowser that you were chatting with didn't tell you. So, for example, if you were to say thank you, that opens up your ability to feel very fine impressions later on. Just saying thank you.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
it's a prayer, you see.
Okay.
I'm not religious, but it's like has the same role as a prayer.
Okay.
So I've also found objects because I can find objects. I found where my student in Mexico City lived. I found her apartment block.
So and
Oh no,
how
that
did
was
you?
map dowsing. Map
Okay,
dowsing
that's map dowsing.
as
Okay.
well.
Okay. And how
So
does the water diviner thing come in? Is that related to the water dowsing?
it's it's basically a simple, doesn't sound simple anymore, but it's a simple binary system that you can use to ask questions in any area. Um, there's directional dowsing where I could, if it was ethical, I could ask questions about somebody in that house over there, but I don't because it's not ethical. And for example, if I douse the lottery numbers, um, that's not ethical. So I would lose the ability to douse for a year and a half, maybe. So there are things which we have found out with time, and that we are also advised against. And you always have to be grounded. So you see, it's quite technical.
It sounds extremely technical. So okay. And so the map dowsing, I'm guessing, did the map dowsing lead you into the remote viewing? Is it considered a similar discipline?
Okay, when um I'm trying to pull out elements because there's too much to talk about. So when we had our club meeting in the library, one time we had this new person who joined us, and she said, "Oh, do you want to do some remote viewing?" I've been practicing CRV, which is controlled remote viewing, and we said, "Okay, we'll do that." So she would bring in an envelope with a photo inside, and we had to um, there was a protocol to go through where you put the reference number, and then you had to work on different sorts of impressions before you tried to draw the result. And you know what? That is amazing. You've reminded me. When I was doing the remote viewing in the library, I could feel the muscles that I felt familiar muscles to do with out of body experiences. To the It's a different sensing. So although yes, you have hearing and you have sight, um, out of body, they are altered. So it was a familiar muscle. I could feel. Oh, I've got that working again. So
Okay.
that was
So,
interesting.
so can you go into that a little bit more? When you say
Yeah.
muscle, are you talking metaphorically, like you could feel the same sort of senses being triggered, or
And okay,
aspects of yourself?
so I can't say. In a way, it's metaphor because I can't say it's a piece of body tissue, which is exercising, up and down. But it was a very similar action to something I recognized from um, from how I perceived sensory stimulations, if you like, when I was out of my body.
Okay. And what was that process like? Can you take us through the process and how you interpreted it, how you sensed it to be able to do it, and then maybe take us through maybe that first session, whether or not what you were able
Well,
to pull through.
well, okay. When you start doing it sounds exciting, but you think, oh, you sort of think, oh, how could I possibly do this? But because you're asked at lots of different stages. So first of all, it's something like what can you hear? So you just send your perception to one point. See, it's just similar to dowsing. With dowsing, you start off broad, but you have to come in to one point, otherwise you don't hit on the right information. It's like, if you imagine the whole of the universe focused down onto the top of a pin, that's how precise it is. And we use that in so many ways. Um, it's it's sort of cross can I say cross media, because I do so many different things. But whether I'm going down through the ground looking for is this grit, is this mud, is this water, is this rock, or if I'm looking for my I don't know, my keys in the house, because I use dowsing to look for objects as well, you see.
Mm.
But if when you're learning, um, your perception isn't so clear. You can feel that it's out of focus because you'll be sent on long, twisty journeys because you're just finding your previous energy traces. Because all you're doing is following your thought traces.
Okay, and
Does
that's
that
the
help?
dowsing side, because the dowsing I can kind of in my head you talked about it being like a binary nature. So I can
Yeah.
see it's almost
Mm.
like you're sort of following a route. But the remote viewing, from what I understand, it's almost like you get this big
It's
impression. You're not
amazing.
supposed to think,
It's
right? You're supposed to.
amazing, and yet it's very similar to dowsing, with I suppose, your intention and your focus, but it doesn't feel similar.
Okay.
I haven't really, I've attended about 5 sessions and I would love to do more. I would love
Okay.
to have a
Okay.
period specializing in that, because I do use, okay, so that's remote viewing, but I do what I call remote dowsing. So sometimes, for example, in a field, if I can look for a reaction that there's a flow of water, say it could be 50 yards up in the corner, I can pick it up from here. I don't have to go up there. Oh, here's a fun one. It's been raining. I've got a cover at my garden. I want to get something off my washing line. I think, well, do I have to walk up through the garden? So I focus on one item. Say I want my white shirt. Focus on it. What is the percentage of moisture that this held by this shirt at this current time? Is it more than 10%? Yes. More than 20%? No. So I know I can go and get that shirt and I'll be able
Oh,
to get
oh
it dried.
wow. Okay,
It's
so
so practical.
it works with lots of different things.
So many applications. For example, my chimney sweep was going to come. He said he was going to come between 12 and 2. So I dowsed to see, is he going to come at 12? Is he going to come at 1? But I dowsed he would come at 10 to 2. So I stayed out.
So hold up a second. Can you maybe if you can, take us through the internal process that, like, is it a feeling? Because with the rod, I can kind of like gauge the rod. So the rod, guessing the rod
The
moves or
rod,
something.
the rod is only demonstrating what you are picking up on a subtler level, which you're
Right.
not aware of, but your cerebellum. So whether your cerebellum is making your rod move or it's just making you. There is a um, there is a little reaction. For example, you can also use your whole body. And forward is, yes, this applies to everybody the same way, which is interesting because in every other way, we all have our own tendencies. But if you ask, for example, in a supermarket, you could say, is this last day fish? Is this okay to eat? And is it safe for me to eat today? And if it goes like that, it's okay to eat. If it goes like that, no, it's not okay to eat. And I've saved my life using dowsing, actually.
For sure. I mean, so it's this is blowing my mind a little bit because okay, so it's essentially, I'm guessing, Dow's is almost like this intuition. This is this it or energy because you're
It's
saying it's coming from
energy.
yourself
Everything is
in
energy.
reality. Yeah,
Everything. It's all energy. And when you're out of your body, um, you are okay. I'll compare. You know, when I put my arm through the wall, and I'm sure all people probably have been out of their body. They must have been through a wall. So, this also applies when you're dowsing. I learnt my lesson. This lesson. I mean, sometimes we can be stubborn to accept what we already know, if you know what I mean. Re-accept what we already know. So, one week we often used to hide things from each other. So one week, the leader of the group said, "Okay, I've hidden my object." We all took a picture of each other holding our objects. I've hidden my object at this castle. It's a castle nearby. And we were all supposed to douse where each other's objects were. So I decided I had to do it physically. We could map douse it, but I decided to do it physically. I cycled there in the pouring rain. I was determined. And when I arrived at the door, I asked for help. So I asked for help from the spirit of the land, which is another area that probably we may not have time to go into. But because I was determined to show that I could find an object somewhere else because I had already had some success in my house. And I was directed to a point. So yes, this is the direction for the object. And I went up to the wall because it was going towards the wall. And what I didn't do straight away was ask how many feet from my point, is this object located? And you also have to remember whether, because everything you ask is so important, you have to remember to say, in a straight line, or the route that is easiest for me to take, things like that. Show me the route that is easiest for me to take. But I said, in a straight line, please show me where the object is located from this point. I didn't say the distance, so I was like up against this wall, like, okay, it's not here. And then I went back and tried again, and I remembered about distance, and it was way past the wall on the other side. And it was at 5 foot up. And that's another thing.
direction.
I have a way of working out the height from the center of the earth, but which I go through all this in detail on my courses as well. So I found the point where the other member had left his object in the wall. It was actually a stone with lots of really weird holes in it, some of them going through. But it wasn't there. But then I asked to be shown the trajectory of the stone, and then I had an impression that this woman in her 30s had given it to her son, who was 3 years old, and I had to follow where he'd been with it. And then it took me to where he'd stuffed it in the wall, out of sight, at like
Right.
3 inches above, hidden completely. And I found it. So I went into the library and I plonked it on the table. It was
Wow.
amazing
Wow.
because also there were some negative people who used to say, "Oh, you can't douse in the rain," and it was
You
pouring that
yeah.
day.
Wow.
So that was cool.
And are
Um,
your group pretty much all on par in terms of level? Like,
no. Well, you see, most people, they let their lives get in the way.
okay, okay,
Um, so, well, the thing, the more you do, the more you invest in time, or if you like, courses, the wider the range of courses that you explore, and just with your daily focus, the more you
mm,
develop. And it's just
okay.
practice.
So, like you
Um,
say, this focus level, like you really kind of like, and it's, I guess, being able to shut down all of the chatter, all of the, I guess there's a meditative process to it.
yeah,
Um,
you just, when I started off, I just decided, because the engineer wasn't telling us what to do, I just said, right, okay, I'll focus on a dead bit down there. Oh, okay, for my answers. And then I just got used to it, having a sort of spot where it's okay, I'm dowsing, like turn off.
okay, okay. If you were to do this, let's not do this, but if you were
Hmm.
to do this,
Yeah.
would you visualize? Is it that you are able to almost like see? Would
So
you visualize some aspect of this, or would I be
this is
sending things to you?
okay. Here's a big tip, which I normally would only share at workshops, that everything you do, you need to connect. So before you ask the question, you connect, because, like I said, we have to focus in to a point before we can ask. Otherwise, we're not really directed at the question. So it's like, if you're perhaps, I don't know, you're chatting. Imagine you're chatting in a cafe in the countryside, but there's birds outside and there's perhaps sheep in the field, but you want to focus in on one particular. Um, there's a tiny little warbler singing at somewhere in a tree, and you want to just hear that. You have to forget the rest of it. So it's a very specific focus, and then you um you'd have to sort of either trust in a way, but usually I visualize, or I'm kind of I'm kind of in the energy a bit already. Yeah, I can't really say more than that. For example, whenever I ask, is food safe? If I'm using a rod, or if I'm not, I ask to connect first. And I sort of, um,
Are you
the,
connecting
the,
with the rod, or are you connecting with the
the
food?
rod is sort of, I don't need the rod, but I use it. Sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. But it's just whether I'm using it or not, I'm connecting at a sort of between the molecule level, if you like, because um, I'm asking the energy of that fish. Or, for example, if I'm looking for water, I'm looking for the energy of the water, not the water. And
Okay,
we also do other things like house healing, it's called, although some people have never heard that term, where you need to find um, places where if someone is going to be sitting or sleeping where there's no negative effects that could possibly cause them to have um, suffer health consequences. For example, I actually have a house sighting coming up with somebody um, about 2 hours away, and they're building a house from scratch. That's what I mean by house siting. And she wants to know the best position to put the house and the best angle, the best orientation as well. And she wants a water source. What more? Talk about
yeah, yeah,
priorities.
for
So
sure.
I'm really looking forward to doing that job. Each job I do is a challenge. I learn something else, or many things each job I do. The job I the job that sort of got me on the professional list, I think, was solving a water pollution problem in Cumbria, where I was sent two files. I okay, so I want to get my I've got a way of showing you how I did it, but my keys are in there. It's on my keys. But I had to identify first of all what was in the files to get the job. So they sent me the files. Well, I was waiting for them to come in the post. I went down to this place where there's former mine pollution still flowing out into a stream, and I practiced and practiced and practiced on that. And then when the files came, I compared the results as well to the. So there was culvert A and culvert B. I identified what was in culvert A and what was coming out of culvert A and what was coming out of culvert B before I went there, you see, to do the work. Um, but the way I do it is I have a lanyard with the periodic table on it, and I focused on each element. And also, I told them, actually, I also got americium. And they said, Americium. Oh, Americium. Okay. I can't remember which number it was. I think it might be 247. And they said, we didn't pick that up in the lab. We have to send it to another lab now. And they found the Americium.
They found it. Okay.
And we're talking nuclear pollution. Mm.
Okay. So this is super, yeah, I mean, Sue, very, very interesting stuff because it's almost like you're, I feel as though there are other, I just listening to you, other mediums that essentially they are all pretty much the same thing, but maybe have different names, no? Because I think in all, whether it's, I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to somebody yesterday about Seth books. I don't know if you've ever heard or come across them, but it's essentially some channeling. And it feels like it's a similar kind of discipline, but in slightly different use case that you're tapping into some sort of energy and receiving
Yeah.
messages.
Well, I am definitely tapping into the energy that we can all tap into and do every day on some level. Um, but also, I was going to say how I use it, the out of body fluency, if you like, when I'm dowsing, because I also do things now like one day I was grounding myself. And for some reason, instead of just sending my attention down to the center of the earth before coming back up and going back through all of my chakras and going towards the light and spreading love everywhere around the earth, before doing that, when I was on the way down to the center of the earth, I thought, hang on, uh, what's it like at the opposite side of the earth to where I am? Never mind going down. So I went to my antipode because I then had my head plop up in the sea. No land at all visible, and I heard I had an audio impression of bloop coming up above the sea. And I looked up the antipode of where I live, and it was just off the coast of New Zealand. So it would follow. I mean, that's just, you see, you're self-directed, and you have to just run with it. I mean, where else was I? Because I just asked. Because I was in the middle of grounding myself. I was in a different state to normally, walking about. Because you need to ground yourself to be a successful dowser, you see. And I think what you just said is true. It's kind of like, although I'm, you know, fully conscious and active, I'm on some level, I'm still connected. Well, as I say, I'm an explorer. That fits everything I've ever done.
Yeah. And then you were saying something earlier, and I think we kind of went off track, but you were saying something about the out of body experience and putting yourself through the wall, and that
Mhm,
feeling which I've had when I've had my hand go through the mattress and you
mhm,
feel,
mhm.
the
The
molecules or
molecules.
whatever.
Yeah, it's
And you were
incredible.
making this connection between that and dowsing.
I'm going
And
through
is
the
it the
wall. Yeah,
connection?
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? That it's like the same sort of
Yes,
connection.
yes, that's the point that I was trying to make, that, it it's almost it's a parallel. It's almost it was so close. You're right. Yeah. Yes,
And
on
yeah, can
some
you maybe
level,
yeah,
because
sorry.
we're not aware. We can't focus on all the levels at the same time. I mean, I've also, I've sort of traveled around my aura, that there's other things I could talk about.
Yeah, what do you
Uh,
mean by travel? Okay, so I think I'm kind of getting what you're saying, which is that in some way there are lots of levels, but
mm,
we're focused on the 3D, let's say, right?
you can only
And
be
actually we're shifting
focused.
our consciousness
Yes. It's
to a different state,
your attention
your
shifts,
attention.
and you're always in at that point where you stay with your attention. You can be standing looking at somebody, and when you go like this, you're getting them to come towards you, but they don't come towards you. But if you are grounded and you focus on their aura, and you just go like this, but you tell them to stand still, you can feel a sensation at the back of your head where their aura it has reacted with your aura.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What?
No, it's just one thing that I noted. I mean, I'm quite experimental, and I'd have all these extra little things, but it's quite simple because the aura is finer energy around you that you can't see, but it's connected. It moves with you. It's around your body. It's basically, we have energy centers going up our body. It's based basically from the form, the physical form, this form, which is why we have the aura this shape, but it can extend or retract. And if you're not well, you can actually obtain information from the aura, and you can draw your aura in as well for protection. If you go somewhere where um you'd like to be, you feel you need a bit more security. It's one way of protecting yourself. You can also,
So not having it so exposed, is that what you mean?
yes,
Like,
so on
okay,
other levels, you see.
okay, okay.
Because sensitive
Interesting.
people they leave the door open too easily. So you need to know how to protect yourself.
Interesting. So what, okay, when you did your aura, is this all the stuff you learned when you were doing your aura sort of studies
Yeah,
when you were
yeah,
young?
but it applies in both. But I tell you, I think this is actually more exciting if I tell you this, because this is something I invented. I mean, it's an adaptation of what people do from time to time. I mean, it's quite it's a higher level thing, but I have, for example, I did a talk for a UFO group that meets quite near me. And for the talk, I invited an auric form, and the form was in the form of a UFO, but one that they could all experience, and that they hadn't all dowsed. And it's just one that I had asked politely
What do you
to
mean
be.
they hadn't dowsed? So,
So the people hadn't dowsed before, but I wanted them to douse it because they wanted to learn
okay,
how to douse.
okay.
And so I gave them all magnets, and it's about the fastest way you could get somebody to develop a reaction on their palm of their hand. And I would say it was quite successful. Um, so basically, I asked for it to appear at a certain time and then to leave at the end of the session and express my gratitude. I asked where did the energy come from? Where did this auric energy come from? And I was told it came from the earth, and I was so touched.
Okay, so hold up. So this UFA group, they meet up and, talk about that
They don't. Yeah,
stuff.
they.
Yeah.
I'm now one of the organisers
Okay,
because
okay.
I
So
do a lot
they
more of
wanted
it.
to learn how to dowse in order
Hmm.
to bring through a presence from another dimension or another.
Yes. Okay. So we were talking about UFOs because that, as I say, is a local UFO group, and there was a person that we once were going to make an arrangement with, but we never did. But it sparked an interest with some of our members. So I said, well, let's go on dowsing trips and see if we can dowse for one. So
Okay.
what I'll tell you is the first one where we all went to this place in the countryside where it's there's a lovely burial chamber nearby, and we dowsed where to sit because we had to sit. We didn't have to sit, but I think for some of them to sit there for 2 hours. And we so when I say that, I mean I was asking, is there an alien craft? Um, what was show me the direction that we need to look to see the nearest alien craft. Okay. And it would be something like, 50 miles away, because you can do numbers as well. So it's easier to use a tool than just use devices. So you go, is the nearest alien craft is more than 50 miles away, and it'll go like that if yes, and it go for me, and it go like that if no, and then you break it down. So 40 miles, 30 miles. So eventually we got it so that there was one which was actually a mile away, and then it went directly overhead because you can do different directions as well. There's a lot of measuring involved. It's quite
Yeah.
scientific.
Okay.
And so I said, oh, okay, so it's a mile ahead, yes. Half a mile ahead, above us, yes. Quarter of a mile, yes. And then suddenly, it was up there. It was, and two of us saw it, and two of us didn't. And so it came. It's quite small, but it came out like this, and then it went round in an arc, and then it went wobbled and gone. And
What shape? What did
there
it
was
look
blue
like?
sky behind it.
It was in the day. This was during the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And what did it look like? What was the
It
shape?
was a disc, and it was just plain. Was there anything around the edge? It's hard to remember.
Okay.
Um, I
And what
could.
sort of
I
speed was it
did an
doing?
illustration because I used that in my
Right.
talk. Because that's why
Okay.
they invited me to talk. You see, this group,
Okay.
because I've got a
Okay.
few different pictures. I took shots, you see, because then after that experience, we all went home, and I put my tablet on my shed roof. I just put it on and went away, and it caught this big white thing, which just there was nothing. I mean,
You say when you say your tablet,
I put it
you're talking.
onto film, so
Oh,
it was just
right.
blue sky, and then suddenly this round white thing, and then blue sky again, and it was solid.
And you
It was
captured that.
I captured it just after this activity. Now, what happened to another member was that he went back to his house and the lights were flashing on and off for an hour and he wasn't doing it. And then the
Whoa.
other two people, so he didn't see it. And he said afterwards, why didn't you tell me? But we were just, would you remember to tell the others? I don't know, because it was just,
Wow.
So,
So is
this
that a
is all
regular
quite
thing?
woo-woo. For dowsers, this is all quite woo-woo.
No, no, I can imagine. But is this a regular thing within that group? Do you guys
No,
go out
no,
basically
we
UFO
just had
hunting?
one summer when we did these sessions, and then like there was another one at the airport where it's a small airport, so we just sat in the visitor area and saw nothing. But I was dowsing and getting indications of where things were going on. And then at the end, when we were packing up, I put my tablet out and I got this white thing coming from obliquely far away, but sort of darting down, then back, then coming towards us, coming down like that. I caught
So
that.
when you say tablet, are you talking about like an iPad? Oh,
Samsung
Samsung, yeah.
tablet.
So to capture it.
Mm-hmm.
And what was this hologram that you were talking about as
Oh,
well?
yeah. We didn't actually go down in that direction because we just um there are areas with the way that person operates that we're not happy with. It's just his method. Um, it's not the British Society of Dowsing Police or anything, but it's just we couldn't work with him because it wasn't consistent, and
Okay.
there were things that he told us which just um there was something about it, you know. It's I mean, what I'm talking about will be maybe unbelievable to some people, but it's just the way his whole story developed. When we're
Okay.
just not sure, we can't
Just
we can't commit
can't
to his
verify it.
arrangement. That's
Mm,
the thing, the way to say it. I mean, it was very interesting at the time, but I'll tell you another thing I've done. Um,
yeah, go on.
so I I've connected to myself. So you can travel in time as well with dowsing, because for example, you can go to a site and you can ask the current course of an underground flow, and then you can ask, "Oh, can you show me the course of this flow 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 6,000 years ago, etc." And you can also, or I didn't know this until I tried it, but you can allow Raymond Grace. You have to look up Raymond Grace.
Raymond Grace. Okay.
Yes, Dowser just believes, you just have to do it. Um, the only block is you saying you can't do it. So was that I decided to ask myself why I chose this life. So first of all, I went into my baby state when I was very new, and sorry, no, a bit older, and that didn't. I just saw a scene, and then I went. I think it was when I was brand new. I asked myself, "Why have you come? Why did you come here? Why did you choose this life?" And I said, "Well, I chose this because I needed to follow an exciting life. I chose an exciting life. So, and I definitely have had an exciting life. Um, but I also, at the same time, I decided to find out what other children would I have had, because I had two children, and there were apparently two more children in this life, who were lined up for me. One of them um there's no spirit family connection,
Okay. What do you mean by
and
spirit family connection?
that's what I was told.
Okay. Okay.
I just go by the facts, the dowsing facts. But that person grew up in Argentina, is growing up in Argentina. But there's another young lady who I've actually seen her face, who is living in Spain, who
Oh,
is in
wow.
another life, who would have come, because there's in the future isn't set, although all times are simultaneous on one level. You can't, and I have had predictions as well, but the future isn't set.
Mm.
So energetically it worked out because of the outside influences. Energetically it worked out that she went another way. But
What do you have a belief system or thoughts even? You don't have to be set in whether multiverse, so there's potentially lots of different timelines and you're sort of at each juncture selecting
I
or
know there are interpretations of the universe, or this is a universe within something else, and um but no, I don't. I just deal with incoming. I just deal with what I've seen, what I've experienced, and move on. I'm too busy.
Fair enough, fair enough. And so, yeah, I guess, yeah, any other experiences that you want to touch on and before we maybe wrap?
There's just, as Raymond Gray says, don't say no. There's nothing you can't do. Dowsing is amazing. Um, I mean, I did doing the job in Cumbria. Did participate? No, what's the word? Precipitate. Um, a series of visual impressions in which I saw complicated mind systems, which they didn't help me find the answers, but I suppose they helped me find the way to the answers, which was great. And also, I mean, I also received messages, but we haven't talked about that. um, I
Receive
do have
messages
help.
from,
Well,
like, sort of channeling.
we did no, but when, as I said, if you are polite as a dowser, you do develop sensitivity that you didn't previously have. And we don't shout about it. We don't say, oh, we're mediums. But you do get impressions on lots of levels. So, for example, my friend's mother popped in to say goodbye.
Mm,
And I mean, I've had um, connections. If you're grounded, you're okay. But also, you always have to check you're grounded. Because you can be led down the garden path. But so you need to be deep, needs to be deep down for me, deep down
where you're getting the message
on
from or
the focus. Yeah.
focus.
If
Okay.
it's too you know, groovy, you got to rethink it. But it's funny because it's a deep, quiet voice, but you can hear it in a loud room. So yeah, she popped in, and then I had other people who I've had a connection with at some point, and with one of them, I felt the illness that they'd had,
Okay. Wow.
for
And
example,
is
but
this
it's not
something?
heavily. We don't talk about it.
Okay. And in those instances that you just gave, was it something you sought out or you were looking for, or was it something that came spontaneously?
No, no, it's just something that came.
Okay.
Like, for example, as well, um, one online group that I'm in, we were talking about the healing power of color, and we were talking about what do you call them? Different forms of energy, and so this person was saying that he could see um a different color energy meant a different ailment if I'm looking at you and focusing. So what I did after the conversation, I was in a dark room and I focused on a column of energy that I know I've got in my bedroom. It's not a spiral, it's a column, and it is. I know not to put my bed on it, so because it would be disturbing if I did. But I focused on this column with my eyes shut. I wasn't
When you
looking
say
at a
column, do
person.
you mean like a column
Well,
in
it's I'll show
being?
you in a minute.
Okay.
But I did what he said, but not looking at a person. I just moved it because I always like to take things further. And I said, all right, I'm going to look at that spiral. I thought it was a spiral. I'm going to look at that spiral in my bedroom. So I focused, and the funny thing was that there it was, and it was a sort of lemon yellow, but it wasn't a spiral, it was a column, and it was going up on the inside and going down on the outside, and I then painted it.
Okay.
So it looked like this,
Wow.
but it was not mid-center when I focused on it. It was over on the left, which was weird. which is why I painted it on the left.
Right. So sorry, what is that? What
So
is
I
that in your room?
detected it.
Oh,
So
you
it's,
detect, oh, it's something,
earth energy.
oh, earth energy.
So some
Okay.
people
So,
call
you
it,
know,
I don't know if it's in English people say telluric, but in French it's telluric
telluric.
energy because it comes
Yeah.
from the land. So there is um it's just a naturally occurring thing that energy is traveling in different directions. Some of it is influenced by negative events, or it can carry information if you like, and carries negativity from negative events. Some of it is positive.
Mm,
And this is something else that happens when you're house healing. You need to sort out the safe areas. So I've
right.
covered a lifetime.
Wow. And that's okay, so that's in your bedroom, that
Yeah, that
energy.
spiral is in my bedroom.
And you
I've
could detect
balanced
it.
it
Okay.
so that it doesn't influence me, but I have actually moved my bed because of it.
Okay. Is it positive? Is it
It's now
neutral?
neutral, but it was negative.
Okay.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. Telluric. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll look that one
I
up.
think earth energy is the best way to talk about it in this
Mm.
country, in the
And how
UK, I
did you
mean.
come across it? Was it just you could fit, could you sense it?
Because I'm trained in geomancy as well, which is house healing, I had already identified everything that was there. And for example, there's sometimes you get negative energy over a flow of water. So you definitely you want to avoid something like that crossing earth energy, or maybe if there's a fault way down in the earth's crust that can still influence.
So this type of thing is really interesting, by the way, and Sue.
How
So
long
thank
is
you
it
so much.
now? Quite a
I
long one.
know we're an hour and a half in, so I'll be
Yeah.
wrapping up now. But if somebody wants to learn about this sort of
Mhm.
thing, the
Okay.
early stages of
So
gauging energy like that,
so are you talk
recommend.
right, so you could do well to come on for example, an in-depth foundation in dowsing course, which I run for the British Society of Dowsers. Ooh. It's just my cup.
Okay, okay,
Is that the right way
yeah,
round? For me,
yeah,
it's not.
that is,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, and I advise that as a good route in. Good route in. Um, you learn so much.
Mm,
And the thing is, if you may not necessarily end up as a dowser, or you may decide that one area gets your fancy, you really want to concentrate, or you might not know yet, and you will find that courses occur, or you meet people which lead you the right way anyway, or lead you a beneficial way for you. So there are sometimes talks, there's group Zooms where you can talk about this sort of thing. For example, if you join the British Society of Dowsers, you do get access to Zooms as well. So you can also attend, um, not pay more again for the session. And, you can learn a lot
yeah, okay.
um, by doing that. Attend as many events as you can in real life.
And do you think, because obviously we talked about your early experiences, do you think that they all were almost like building blocks to get you to this point? Like actually the out of body experiences and the
Definitely,
sensitivities
definitely.
actually
Mm.
built up your awareness. So when you did start dowsing and doing a little bit of remote viewing.
I'm just making use of it when it comes along. I'm just an explorer, and I advise everybody to just go with it. Obviously, like I'm sure most people, I've had times when the phone rang and I knew
Yeah,
who it was.
yeah.
When
I had
yeah,
that recently. Yeah.
good, good. I mean,
Mm,
I found that when I'd been dowsing um regularly for quite a while, then I knew things like I used to have a microwave. I don't now, but I used to know when the microwave was about to ping and when the kettle was about to be done. I mean, you could guess those things anyway, but you can look for people, animals. It's just there's no limit.
And what's next? Sue, what's your goal? What's your ultimate goal with all of this? What's the next phase look like?
I can't say there's one goal, but it's a journey. I think every job I take on is challenging. Sometimes they're harrowing, but this house sighting that I've got, I'm excited, but I've got to go in prepared. But it's incredible. The things, oh, like I said, I came here for an exciting life, definitely. I've got no limits.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind living abroad again, for example, because not so many people around here speak the languages I speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, just on that, like before I wrap up,
You could have a
do you
course where you live if you wanted.
yeah, that's true.
Get
That's
one
true.
arranged.
I might have a little think about that. But do you find as well in different countries, different energies, different, sometimes people say that, and I've felt that certainly in, I don't know, Chiang Mai in Thailand. There's something about that place that for me, I'm like, ooh,
So more of my traveling was when I was younger, but I mean, living in France, it felt like I took on a different persona a bit because my voice changed, and I also felt like I was being carried. I knew it was the right thing for me. Even despite the fact that the week before my car was broken into and my son's toys right across the
oh wow,
garden.
oh wow.
But
Where in
they
France were you?
stole in Brittany. But I've
Okay,
been everywhere in France because of my one side of my family.
okay, okay. Okay, Sue, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and learning about all of this stuff and seeing the interconnectedness of all these different disciplines. Yeah, it definitely furthered my understanding and view of things. So,
It's
yeah,
just an incredible that it's just a whole, one big ride, if you like a fairground ride that never stops.
I think
Energy
that's a great
ride.
way. I think
And
that's a
it's
great
not
way
drug related, drug induced.
for sure. Thank you, Sue.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you like that video as much as I enjoyed making it. As always, please like, subscribe, comment. What did you think? Please leave them in the comments below.